Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 1 Million Cups Sioux Falls. I am Brian Maynor, the Executive Director of Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship, and also a member of the 1 Million Cups Organizing Committee. I want to open with just a little bit of housekeeping. We're live streaming from the Pinnacle Productions studio again today. If you're joining us on the Zoom platform, feel free to post your questions in the chat. You can also introduce yourself, share your contact information. This is a networking opportunity for you, so please take advantage of that this morning. During the Q&A after the speaker presents, you can also post your questions in the Zoom chat or use the raise hand function to be called on, and you will ask your question live if you prefer. And if you're tuning in over Facebook, make sure to post your questions in the comments of the live video, and we'll make sure that your question gets asked as well. Why do we host 1 Million Cups? Every Wednesday, over 160 communities meet at 9 a.m. to give each other support, encouragement, and feedback over a cup of coffee. So I hope you have your coffee this morning. Thanks to the Kauffman Foundation for its support of our Sioux Falls chapter and chapters all across the country. If you're interested in presenting, please reach out to anyone on our organizing committee for details on how to apply. If you're a regular to these events, we'd encourage you to bring a friend or a colleague next time. Next, I would just like to entertain anyone who is new to 1 Million Cups today to introduce themselves. And also, if you're joining us on Facebook and you're new, feel free to post in the comments and we can introduce you as well. So anyone want to introduce themselves this morning? Looks like maybe we got some old regulars this morning. So we'll pass on that. We'll move on. So next, if there are any community events and announcements to share, this is your time to go ahead with those. And I know Zeal has some exciting things going on. Not to pick on anybody, but I know Sarah Lum's on the call this morning. So if she wants to give us a couple updates.
Good morning, everyone. I want to share an exciting event that we have coming up the first Wednesday of March. We're having celebrating Sioux Falls Entrepreneurship Day. And this was something kind of the entrepreneurial community came together and did last year to celebrate the 5-year anniversary of 1 Million Cups. And we just decided that we should make this an annual celebration of the startup journey. So we have a series of events happening throughout the day, including 1 Million Cups that day with John Meyer and Natalie Eisenberg, which will be a really exciting presentation. And then we also have a startup social that we'll be hosting in the afternoon at the Fernson Tap Room, and that will also include a tour of that facility. And then throughout the day, everyone can expect some exciting content, takeovers, and announcements on our social channels. And then lastly, I want to mention, if you are an entrepreneur or you support entrepreneurs, you can change your Facebook frame right now to I am a founder or I support founders. And you can do that by searching for Sioux Falls Entrepreneurship Day when adding a frame.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Who else has an event to share?
I do. It's Maureen. Hi.
Good morning.
So I would like to just mention the morning marketing party that we have coming up. We being Startup Sioux Falls, also Zeal. That will be on March 25th. It is a virtual morning marketing party. So some of you have probably attended our previous morning marketing parties. This one's going virtual. It's at 8:30 in the morning. You can find this on startupsiouxfalls.com's event calendar or on the Zeal Center Facebook page in the events. But basically, we're inviting any business owners or marketing professionals to join us and just share a tip with the rest of the crew, marketing tip. And then also we're partnering with Flyboy Donuts. So that morning, if you have registered for this event on Eventbrite, so go do that now. If you've registered on Eventbrite that morning, you can stop by Flyboy Donuts to get a free donut that you can kind of eat with us on the Zoom call. So that is, again, March 25th. Find the details on startupsiouxfalls.com on the event calendar.
I'll post free donuts. Can't beat it. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Entrepreneurship Week from the U.S. Business Administration. Great to jump on here real quick and see everybody. I miss you all. We need to get together in person more pretty soon. So I wanted to just jump on and let you know that the COVID-19 response program resources are still available. We have over about 13,000 loans, the Paycheck Protection Program loans that have taken place in South Dakota just in the last month. So there's still a need for this in South Dakota, obviously. And we did about 24,000 last year between April and August. So that kind of gives you, a feel of where we're at right now. So we have Paycheck Protection Program loans available through March 31st. You can go to your local lender. There's over 300 of them across South Dakota that are SBA partner lenders that we're working with. So they have the platform for you to apply first draw or second draw. First draw is if you haven't taken out a Paycheck Protection Program forgivable loan, because it is forgivable. So it really basically turns into a grant if you use it within the boundaries of the program. If you didn't get one last year, you can get a first draw this year if you're eligible. Second draw is also available for folks who are eligible, and that means you have to demonstrate at least a 25% revenue reduction for at least one quarter last year compared to 2019. So we are seeing many folks are eligible for the first draw as well as the second draw. And so please get in and look at that. The emergency injury disaster loans are also available. That is a direct loan from the government. SBA facilitates it. And it's a 30-year loan. And those applications are available now. They've been extended out through December 31st. So please check on it and see. There's no need to struggle right now for a small business if you're eligible for some of these resources. You can get more information at sba.gov/SD, and we're going to put that in the chat so folks can see it. Have a great week.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Jamie is a wealth of knowledge, and we are so lucky to have her in the Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship and her incredible team. So don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us if you need any support, resources, questions. Obviously, Jamie knows a lot. She could probably talk for 2 hours about all of the things that they are doing to support small business. So thank you. Anyone else have a question, or not a question, I'm sorry, an event, update, anything like that? Good morning.
Morning. My name is Graham Ferguson. I'm from the University of Sioux Falls, and as the University of Sioux Falls entrepreneurial program, we're working with the Zeal Center here to bring more of a connection between young entrepreneurs from colleges or high schools into the community. And so in an effort doing this, we're hosting an event on April 27th called the Sioux Empire Showcase from 4 to 6 p.m. over Zoom. And so just an announcement here, if you're looking to be involved in partnering with us or mentoring these new entrepreneurs that are going to be presenting their business ideas to us, you can reach out to our team's partnership coordinator, Michaela Nelson. I'll post her email in the chat here, or you can just send me a DM on Facebook and I'll get you connected with her. It might be easier that way, but yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the update. And we've been just excited to work with your team and get to know the student bodies across the region and see how we can connect with them further. So this is going to be a really exciting opportunity for students. Who else? Aaron.
So kind of along the same line, it's I2I season at USD. And so we're inviting any college students in the state and high school students that have business ideas that they're working on to come compete in the I2I competition. High school students could win up to $1,000 and college students could win up to $2,000. The submission deadline for that will be March 24th, and the contest, the competition itself will be on April 16th. Now, I should just note that we have historically been underrepresented here in Sioux Falls in the competition. We've had participation from south of here, north of here, west of here, and even east of here, but we haven't had participation from the Sioux Falls High School. So especially asking anybody who knows a local high school student that's working on a business idea to invite them to come and participate. And I'll put the URL in the chat.
Sounds like Aaron's throwing down a challenge. Hey, Sioux Falls High School students, we want to hear from you. We'll definitely do our best to reach out and help connect Aaron, but thank you for the information. Anybody else have anything to share before we move on? And before we move on, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, and Jamie already did, that we are celebrating America's entrepreneurship ecosystem this week. It is National Entrepreneurship Week across the country. And there are some really interesting virtual events that you can take part in this week. If you go to, and I'll have somebody put this in the chat, but it's nationalentrepreneurshipweek.org, but abbreviated. So I'm not going to spell that all out. We'll just share that information in the chat. So really exciting that we're able to take part in a national effort to shine a light on entrepreneurship and celebrate our ecosystem, which is clearly very vibrant. So thank you all for sharing this morning. Next, we're going to intro our presenter. Today's speaker is known as the top corporate magic entertainer in the Midwest and has practiced the art of magic for over 17 years. He has recently opened a brick and mortar shop, which is something he had been thinking about for many years, and then conveniently opened his doors about a week before the pandemic hit. So we'll be very interested to hear more about his entrepreneurial journey. He is brave, gritty, and entertaining, and his name is Travis Nye of Spellbound Magic Shop and Theater. Welcome, Travis.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I'm
Absolutely
excited to be here. I'm excited to tell my story a little bit. Just have all kinds of fun with you guys. So yeah, as mentioned, I'm a magician, which is kind of a weird thing. Like, that's not something a lot of people hear of. Every time I say that that's what I do, I'm a magician, they always ask me what instrument I play. And I'm like, no, I'm a magician, not musician. Sounds very similar, but far apart. So yeah, I've been doing magic for about 17 years now. It feels more than that, but I have taken breaks, and in the starting, I didn't really consider myself a magician or practicing magician. I think at some point, everybody gets a magic kid or a trick or something like that in their life, and that was no different for me. It just took a little bit of a different turn to where it stuck with me for a little bit longer. I'm gonna try to do the condensed version the best that I can, but when I'm passionate about something, it's hard for me to do that. So the basic idea is that the first time I ever seen a magician, I was in elementary school, and I got to go up on stage and help this person with the magic trick. I helped the magician. I was their assistant for a trick. And of course, we did a very, very simple trick that I think is in every kid's book today, to where we folded up some newspaper. We both did the exact same thing. I mirrored his motions, and we made a little pocket out of newspaper. And we poured water inside the pocket. We folded up the top, and he waved his magic wand, said some sort of magical spell, probably abracadabra. And we tipped it over. His water completely vanished, and of course, my shoes got completely soaked. I was amazed. I wanted to know how he did it. I didn't even care that I was completely soaked in front of all of my friends and peers in elementary school. He said, "Do you want to do it again?" kind of jokingly, and I said, "Absolutely." And so for that moment, that was a lot of fun for me, actually seeing a real-life magician. And so, of course, I was telling my parents about it. I got a magic kit. And shortly after getting it, I really didn't understand it. I discarded most of the tricks in there. The instructions were very poorly written. It was just a big box store, magic kit. There wasn't really anything special in it at the time. Now, fast forward a few years, and there's a TV show on called The World's Greatest Magic. It aired 2 nights on Halloween weekend. And basically, it was kind of a showcase of 15 or 20 different magicians that'd come on and do a short act, leave the stage, and another one would introduce. I think John Ritter was the host for that show, so that was a lot of fun. Kind of dating myself with John Ritter there, but that's okay. And so eventually, every magician was the comedian, the card guy, did tricks with ropes, the big illusions, and it was all really cool to see. And then there was one magician who came on by the name of Lance Burton. And if you guys know me at all, you've heard this story, you've heard me talk about Lance, because that was the first time, I think I was maybe like 13 or 14 years old, to where it didn't feel like a trick. It felt like real magic. And even though I was watching it on TV, like you guys are watching me here on a screen, there was still that connection made, and I didn't quite understand how it was so powerful to watch that. So of course I got out that magic kit again, and it was just terrible, terrible magic tricks. I rushed to my parents and I wanted to show them all these magic tricks. And of course I got the sympathetic, like, oh, good job, you're doing great, you know? And so that was fun, but a little frustrating at the same time because I knew I wasn't getting that same feeling that I felt watching that TV show. Eventually a friend came to my school, my high school at the time, from Russia. And this year was after a couple years of practicing from Russia, and he knew I was trying to learn how to do magic tricks. And so he showed me a card trick, and I got that same exact feeling I did years ago watching that TV show. And it was absolutely amazing because I had no idea how he did it. This was, again, the first time I'd seen magic after elementary school. I'd never seen a magic show. I'd never seen a magician. And it triggered all those emotions and all those feelings again of just amazement. And it even reminded me back of elementary school. Like, it felt like it was yesterday. It was an amazing experience for me. And so, of course, I begged and pleaded how to learn this trick, and he wouldn't teach it to me. He just kept telling me, niet, no. And so eventually, a couple days before he went back to Russia, he taught me how to do the trick. And he said, now, if you're going to practice this, if you want to perform it, make sure you practice thoroughly to where you don't even have to think about it. Make sure that your presentation is perfect. Make sure everything is right on. And it made sense, of course, because I was much older at this time. So I think I practiced that for like 3 weeks, 30 hours a day. It was ridiculous. My knuckles and fingers were hurting. And I finally went to my parents. I said, hey, Mom, Dad, can I show you guys a magic trick? And of course, by that time they were defeated, and they're like, yes, what do you have? And so I showed them that same trick, and it was the first time I got a genuine reaction of amazement from my parents. And so it was amazing to have some kid at the time genuinely amaze an adult through a magic trick, especially when I've been trying for years and years and years, right? So for that moment, that feeling that they had of amazement, I felt that too. And so for a moment there, that was like my magic moment. That was me experiencing a magic trick live for the first time all over again by performing for somebody else. And so that kind of triggered my passion, I guess, to continue to do this and continue my journey down the road of learning magic. Now, it wasn't easy. It took a very, very long time. And sadly enough, everything that I do that I've spent so much time on, you're not even supposed to see it. That's the hard thing. So for a magician to be able to keep a secret, that is the real magic there. Because I want to show you guys so much all the things that I can actually do and not just the outcome. But as long as you guys enjoy that same experience, then I know my job was done. And if at the end of one of my shows, you simply say, how did you do that? Then I didn't do my job, because it's just a puzzle for you. Eventually I had learned that it wasn't about the tricks, and this took me a very long time. And this is when I actually started getting hired for shows and gigs and stuff like that. And matter of fact, my first show that I ever had, first gig, was I was actually booked at a restaurant. I was just barely old enough to have a license to drive by myself, and I don't even think I was supposed to drive over state lines at the time. But I was booked at a restaurant, performing for a couple hours, one day a week. On a Wednesday, I got paid $50. Definitely didn't make any money at it. Spent more money in gas, I think, but it was an amazing experience, a huge learning curve. And I continued just performing as much as I could, small birthday parties, and I didn't quite understand the value because it was just the passion that I wanted to perform. I'd do half-hour, 45-minute shows for like $30. And at the time, you know, having a part-time job, I think I was at Wendy's at the time. That was my first job, and be able to do magic tricks for people, that was more enjoyable. If I didn't get paid at all, I still would have continued doing it. It was definitely something I will never regret doing, even the free ones that I've done. So fast forwarding, here I am today doing magic tricks for people, and that same passion exists. However, I talked about the magic kits that I had and all the different things that I didn't understand in it, and I kind of discarded. Everything that I had in those kits are the things that I'm using today. Because I didn't understand how to use them, the proper presentation, it just didn't seem valuable to me, and I just discarded it because it wasn't taught to me properly, or I hadn't seen it actually performed. And so that is my purpose for opening up Spellbound Magic Shop and Theater. I got a slide here I'll pull up real quick so you guys can see kind of the front of it. This here's just the front of the store. It's located over there at 5413 West 41st, the Clock Tower Square building at 41st and Marion. As she'd mentioned, I'd signed my papers just before COVID became a thing, and that scared me. Absolutely. I had a lot of friends and family saying, you know, are you sure you want to do this? Do you want to move forward with it? And I'd already signed the papers, and, you know, I kind of pride myself that I follow through with what I say I'm going to do, and I was already paying rent, so I might as well do it. So I completely changed the inside. We put new flooring, all that good stuff in. I had a vision that I wanted to do, something that I wanted to create, and I wanted to feel like a real magic shop. I didn't want it to feel like a toy store or anything like that. I wanted you to go in there and have a different experience. Now, of course, there's only so much I could do with a modernized building. It's not ideal for my vision, but I actually love the way that it turned out. So for 2 to 3 months, I ended up creating the inside of this. The most difficult thing was that card ring above my head. I wanted to tear that thing down so many times. But you can see I have all types of different magic tricks and props and things like that there behind me. So there's an entire shelf. To the right, you can't really see it over my right shoulder. I have my display case where some more advanced magic and stuff like that is. Of course, every business needs to have custom shirts and all that fun stuff. And behind me, that is where I consider the real magic to happen. That is what I have titled the Doven Magical Theater. I'm not going to get into the name of that, but stop into the shop and I'll tell you that. But that has actually a rich history here in Sioux Falls with a legendary magician that had lived here his entire life that nobody ever knows about. So that's an amazing story in itself. Through those curtains there, you will see the theater. This here is kind of where my performing stage and stuff is. It's a parlor theater, so it's actually intended to be small. It seats maybe 25 to 30 people at its max. And I can do just about any type of show I want there. And I love this so much because I get booked for all types of events all over the country, big and small, speaking gigs, birthday parties, you know, you name it, trade shows. But I feel no matter how much time and energy I put into doing any one of those shows, more magic happens in this theater than anything else because it's all about the theater of it. You have to create that ambiance. And I think this theater does it perfectly, and I'm still adding to it and changing it and coming up with new things, but it really creates the setting that you're there for a magic show. And so you can see here's a couple of photos. I was actually able to host some students there at USF. They came out for a private event. That was a lot of fun. And then moving forward, I also do adult parties, of course, and this month here they've all sold out, and I'm thankful for that. But I did kind of a date night type event where you get dessert and drinks and the show and a private table for 2. So that way that social distancing and all that stuff is still there. And that was definitely a lot of fun. And the reviews that I'm getting from it make everything worth it. If the entire shop failed today, the reviews that I've had and the experience that I've had from it makes everything worth it. And so I don't think it could actually fail even if I close my doors tomorrow. So that's kind of my journey into magic and my passion behind it. And really, it's not about the tricks. It's just about creating that moment of wonder, even for an adult, just that split second where they think anything is possible. And I know that sounds silly and cliche, but honestly, when you come to my show and somebody asks you, oh, what'd you do the other day? They say, I went to a magic show. Really, what happened? You're going to say exactly what the illusions were. You're not going to say, oh, he took this piece of paper and wadded it up, hid it in his hand, put it in his pocket without me seeing it. It was amazing. No, you're going to say, he took my dollar bill and he made it completely disappear and it appeared inside of an orange. And so you're recreating that magical moment for the people that you're friends with and those listeners. And just by word of mouth and talking about what they think happened or what they've seen happen, that's actually the magic right there. It's those moments of being excited to tell that story of what they felt and the things they witnessed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Travis, I can feel the passion coming off of you right now.
Yeah.
It is clear that this is your destiny.
Absolutely.
Something I want to ask you about is the financial model, the business model. Can you talk a little bit about your journey to find resources in the community and how you got your funding to start?
Absolutely. So it's amazing. A lot of the decor, being a huge fan of magic and stuff, I already had. I pretty much gave my wife a moment to breathe and moved my house into the shop. So I no longer had a magic house. It was a normal house now. But yes, I did end up borrowing a little bit of money for startup, not a lot, about $6,000. The rest of it came out of pocket. When you do a lot of the things yourself and you have a vision to make it your own, it's amazing the things you can do on a budget. That is absolutely amazing. And plus, the same thing, I've had a lot of people reach out to me saying like, hey, can we market your shows? Can we do some marketing tactics for you, stuff like that? And the first thing I ask is, have you ever seen my show? And they say no. And I'm like, then you don't know what you're selling. You don't know about the experience. And the same thing with the shop. I wanted nobody else involved because I had my vision of what I was capable of and my brand. And I felt like I put that into the shop itself. So with that, basically the business model behind it was really just full forward passion. The financial side of it, I saved a little bit. I'd planned a little bit for doing a shop for about 5 years, but of course you never expect things to work out the way they are. I had never actually intended to opening a shop that year. I had called some friends who had properties and things like that, and like, oh, let me show you this place. I'm like, well, I'm not really looking to start it now. I just want to get some numbers and some ideas and how to move forward with this. And so they're like, well, let's talk and make you a good deal and get you into this. And so I talked to my wife for about 3 or 4 weeks, and she's like, it's up to you. Like that nervous, like, I support you. Please don't do it.
I know that tone.
Yeah. But I'm like, okay, well, if you support me, let's go. And so I signed the papers, knowing I would never sleep again. And for about 4 weeks, I devoted every waking moment I had available into creating what I did. And it's just been amazing. It's one of those things that there's not another magic shop in Sioux Falls or anywhere in the surrounding area. And it's funny, I have a lot of people that come in thinking that it's more of a spiritual magic shop. And I'm like, nope, not what it is, but let me show you what I can do.
Yeah.
And so then like, oh, that's awesome. Let me get that. And I'm like, absolutely. And so honestly, the business model behind this is truly my passion, showing it to my customers, because I don't consider any of them coming in there to buy anything.
Sure.
And it's tough because they look at the shelf and they're like, I don't know what any of this is. And I know. That's the hard thing. I'm selling you things that you have no intentions of buying or even know what it does, but you walk into the store and you're going to leave with something because I'm not even going to say Spellbound is not a store. It's an experience. You can walk in and actually see and feel what you're going to purchase.
Yep.
When somebody is able to perform it properly and correctly, it creates a whole nother dynamic of where somebody's like, I need that. I need that. And admittedly, I know they're going to walk out of the door and either never perform it or understand it.
Yeah.
But that is the difference between an online store to where I have, to where if they don't understand it, they bring it back in. I said, let's get this figured out. Like, let's get it to where you can do this the way that you want to do it.
So speaking of figuring it out, we have a great question on the screen here from Sarah Carnes, who also is acknowledging that your passion is contagious.
Yeah.
But what additional adaptations have you executed as a result of the pandemic?
So the pandemic happened right about the time that I'd normally be doing post-proms. That's always a big season for magicians. And I can only project what I had lost, but I guarantee you I lost anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 overnight just from not being able to do those shows. So instantly I had to pivot a little bit, and everybody was doing virtual just as we are now. Virtual is brand new. It was very spotty. The quality, the production value, it was pretty low for most things, and it was for me as well. And so I had to learn how to convert my shows to virtual. And it was terrible. Looking back at it, in the moment, I was proud of it. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. We can do it. I can still connect with you guys. Because again, it's about being personable. It's not about, putting on that hat and being the entertainer. It's you have to connect more than you ever could. And the tough thing is in a live show, I rely so much on my audience reactions and feed off of that energy, and then it builds and everybody else feeds off of that. But in a virtual show, if I don't mute my entire audience, it sounds like a high school cafeteria. So I have to be the most excited person about what I am doing. And it is exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. But that's what's required. So I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to be overly excited about what I was doing. And then I could see the reactions on the screen. And then I'd unmute people, interact with them, and so on and so forth. But honestly, virtual shows became a big thing. A lot of people were doing it. I did a couple fundraisers. Schools were calling me in as kind of like their end of day farewell to the students, where they thought they were coming in for classes, and I'd do a magic show for them. And it got great reactions, and that was really my learning curve. But fortunately, magicians are a very, very tight group, just like the entrepreneurial group. And all across the globe, we're helping each other out, creating new Facebook groups and forums saying, like, this is what you do, this is how to do it, this is what to execute.
I was going to ask you that too. So we talk a lot about mentorship and the power of it. And our city is looking to become a city of mentors. Who are your mentors, both locally, and I'm assuming you have to reach out beyond our community because there aren't a lot of magicians in the area, but who are your mentors?
Yeah, absolutely. So having a shop has actually created an opportunity that I wouldn't have had elsewise. My inspiration, Lance Burton, you know, one of the biggest names out there in magic, whether you guys know him or not, he was, you know, value was higher than Copperfield, selling more tickets higher than Copperfield. He had a 13-year contract at the Monte Carlo in Las Vegas. I reached out to him because these people aren't performing. We got to do like a 2-hour live interview on my Facebook. And so those are the times where you really start tearing apart the things that you need help with. Like, let's talk, like, let's help everybody else. Like, let's help me, you know, right? But I got to interview so many amazing magicians and just entertainers and speakers out there because, like I said, the magic isn't in the tricks, it's in the presentation, creating that moment of wonder. And so, like, big writers and big speakers, people that work for Disney, things like that, TV personalities, all those people I got to interview just to talk about, like, how do you make that connection? How do you, like, what is your passion? Because there's somebody else out there that is feeding off of this, that want to put it into their show. And not one person charged me for these things. They were hungry to tell their story. They were hungry to entertain in any facet possible.
That is awesome.
I had winners of America's Got Talent on there talking to me. I had people from the UK coming on and doing live broadcasts with me. It was absolutely amazing. And I still have more scheduled. The next one, I'm still working on a closing date for it. But it's Justin Willman of Magic for Humans on Netflix. He also hosted Cupcake Wars a long time ago.
Love Cupcake Wars.
So yeah, people love that type of stuff. And so, like, oh my gosh, we know that person. I'm like, cool, we're going to bring him on and talk. So having those opportunities to talk to those people with all that experience is amazing. Some of my mentors when I moved to Sioux Falls goes back to the theater, the Dove and Magical Theater. I'll throw out the name there. Ren Fetzer was an amazing magician, lived in Sioux Falls his entire life, passed away a couple years ago in his mid-90s, and he performed magic and created magic up until he passed away. So to just have that wealth of knowledge of somebody who's done it and, like, done everything is amazing. It's one of those things, like, when you're young, you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I don't need to hear from the old guy. But I understand the wealth of that knowledge. Whether it's your same style or performance, there's something there to listen to. And even people that are younger than me that come into the shop, like, they show things to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I do that same trick, but you did something a little bit different. Like, can I use that? Like, let's build on that. And then we just kind of co-create.
Have you thought about a school of magic?
I have. And so here's the fun thing. Back when the bakery had a building and all that good stuff, we used to actually host magic classes in the basement. I did an 8-week class. It was every Saturday for 8 weeks. And I had people driving like 2 and 3 hours away every weekend to come to the class. Then I started hosting them in my magic shop in the theater, and it gave them an opportunity to come there and actually perform on a real stage. And then experience the magic. That was kind of like my sales pitch. It was like, hey, let me do a free show for you guys, show me what I'll be teaching. And of course, they're amazed by the magic tricks. And I'm like, let me show you guys the proper way to do it. Next Saturday, we're doing a class, and they fill up every time so fast.
That is awesome.
And there's been a few regulars that come in there now, and they just want to show me what they've been working on. And
so there's a very relevant question up on the screen right now from Maureen, who says, has it been hard to find the line between which tricks you teach versus the ones that you keep a secret for your shows?
Yes. That has been one of the most difficult things ever, because I have so many people like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? And my instant response is very well. That's what I tell people, right? It's just a cheesy joke to avoid the fact that I'm not going to tell you. Because you're not supposed to know. Otherwise, I will tell them if I don't make it a joke. Because it's one of those things. It's so awesome how methods and stuff work. But yeah, so I try to keep my classes anywhere from the ages of 7 I say 8 years old, but I'll allow 7 in.
Is that because you have a 7-year-old? Is he participating?
Well, I know his dexterity, his motor skills and understanding, and I know that's kind of where he's at right now, being able to comprehend what I'm teaching.
Yep.
And anything younger than that, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
they're not really going to get it, and I don't want to waste your money. Like, they can come to the class, but
Sure.
they're going to leave with nothing. Like the 8 to 13 range is kind of my target for classes.
Sure.
And that's an excellent place because they want to learn the core foundations of the tricks, and they don't really care about the presentation so much. They just want to be like, oh, I want to see how to make this thing float. Want to make something disappear.
Yeah.
That's all they care about in that moment. But when they see it perform properly, they will go home and they will practice that over and over because kids will mimic everything they truly experience and enjoy.
Right.
They watch a TV show that is their absolute favorite and they will mimic that character. That's what they do. So when they can actually see something perform properly, they want to perform it the same way. So that's the best thing that I can do for them beyond just getting them a magic kit and say, here you go learn it.
Are there particular aspects of like life skills, social skills that come out of, what are you offering beyond, the obvious?
So there has been so many TED Talks about it. There has been so many like science, reports, like all these different things, studies about this, about how they show infants even magic tricks of things that they understand to be normal at that time because everything is magic to them, right? But they know over time quickly that if they let go of something, their ball, their water bottle, whatever, it drops and hits the floor.
Yep.
So they did a study, and there's a really cool video where they put an infant in front of a table and they take their ball from them, they set it on the table, the ball rolls, and when they think it falls off the table, it keeps going and just into nothingness, like it's just floating off the table. And just the reaction from that like 1-year-old is like, wait a minute, what's happening? And so through that, they've continued that study over different age groups and found that that wonder is still there of learning something new. And when they have that and they've continued to do this, that their boundaries are so much less of what they think is possible.
Sure.
That they're just like, no, there's a way to do it because it doesn't matter what the method is at the end result. They made that ball float.
That's really interesting.
Because the observer doesn't understand how it's working. So for them, they just experience the same thing. So through that, I mean, of course, there's speaking skills, communication skills, creativity, like all these different things, and just overall confidence.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if I come up to you and says, hey, I'm going to fool you because you know I'm a magician.
Yeah.
Instantly, you put your guard up. You're like, nope, not me. You're not going to do it. But I got to have that confidence to be personal enough to get you to forget about the trick and just get lost in the moment.
Right.
And if they can create that experience truly saying that they're going to fool somebody and then do it, they could apply that to so many different things just in their normal everyday life of communicating with people and building that relationship.
Absolutely.
There's even some adults that I teach magic to, and they apply that same principle to different sales jobs and stuff like that they have. It's much like hypnosis.
I could see you almost like going into consulting to some,
I've done some minor speaking gigs and stuff like that, and I've done a couple different like live videos where I just rant over something, that's bothered me, and I'm like, okay, this is what you got to do. I had some salesperson come into my shop, try to sell me something, and it was a terrible sales pitch. And so I did a live video. I'm like, okay, you guys, and I had a couple people that are in sales, like, hey, can we share this video in our meetings? Can we share this? I'm like, absolutely, whatever you need. And then they bring me in and I do the exact same thing basically. But it's different because it's not, your PowerPoint slideshow presentation. It's a couple magic tricks and entertainment where they actually get to interact with what I'm trying to tell them.
Sure. Oh my goodness. I wish you all could like experience what it's radiating off of you, and I'm just like, I'm feeling it right now, you guys. I get so excited, like, trust me, this could be the longest 1 million cups ever. Like, if you just let me go, it could be the longest one ever. I don't have time for that today, but I don't see any other questions. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, well, I feel the excitement through the camera. Yes, absolutely. I was just going to look and see if I had any other questions for you. Just, what's the future for you? Like, what are your dreams for the next 5 years, especially? Like, what are you looking to do?
It's actually amazing because having a son now who's getting much older and realizing that I wasn't home as much when I was traveling pre-pandemic, it's nice to be able to actually stay home and stay local a little bit more. And honestly, with having the magic shop, all these people are now reaching out to me for shows that are local that never happened before. Like, no matter how many marketing dollars I put into it, how many times I'd email people and message people, the stereotype is like, hey, I'm a magician. This is what I want to do. You guys are hosting an event. I will come in absolutely free because people need that first. Oh, this was actually really good. And like, no, we're okay. You're a magician. I used to perform downtown all the time, like on First Fridays, and like, oh, what are you doing? And I might be doing like fire eating downtown. Oh, you should come to my kid's birthday party. I'm like, no, I do adult entertainment as well. Like, I'll do birthday parties, but I'm here to say there's an actual professional magician here in town, that it's not just for kids. If you go to Las Vegas, you're there for a show, and 90% of the time you're going to go to a magic show. But if you're outside of Las Vegas, magic is for kids. And that blows my mind. So hopefully the next 5 years, I can focus on getting booked locally a lot more. And that's tough because, honestly, the local rate of any entertainer is about 20% of anywhere else. Like, it is like peanuts, and it's so difficult to justify to do things like that.
Who are your competitors then? You know,
I mean,
there aren't any other people doing what you're doing.
So there's about 10 other magicians in Sioux Falls.
There are?
There are.
Okay.
A lot of them are hobbyists. Some of them are hypnotists, things like that. Some of them specify like kids shows, stuff like that. Some of them do library shows, whatever. But it's one of those things. Every entertainer is unable to succeed or make money local. So nobody knows about that.
Gotcha.
Even if you talk about our local, like the fair and all these other things, all the entertainers, none of them are local because they think good entertainment has to come from the outside. Because they're like, oh, we need to bring in so-and-so. And because somebody says we need to bring in, local is not even an option. And so to get people to realize that we have good entertainment here, and through Spellbound, it's become a booking agency because I know hypnotists, I know balloon artists, face painters, comedians, fire eaters, jugglers, all these different people that somebody reaches out to me like, oh, we need an entertainment for this event. Like, well, I personally am not available, but let me tell you who is.
How do we break down that stigma? Do you need to go on America's Got Talent and then people will...
Yeah, I mean, something needs to happen, but I think that's not anything new. I think that's just global, that people want to bring entertainment in from elsewhere and not focus on local.
Well, we're here to tell you that's what we're all about, is supporting local.
Right? So. That's why I was excited to be here. I had to plug that little bit in.
There are a couple more questions here. Let's see. Do you have, Maureen asked a really good question here. Do you have anything to add about the experience people would have in your shop beyond the shows themselves? Like, what else can they experience inside the store? Yeah.
So, I mean, you come into the shop, you don't have to pay for the experience. You're going to get that whether you buy something or not. I mean, I want to show you what I do. I want you to get excited about what I do. That's the only way you're going to come back. So that's first and foremost. You come in, prepare. I'm going to perform a trick if possible, if you have interest.
And you're always there, right?
I'm always there. I have not hired anybody.
Okay.
Yes, I have not hired anybody. I would love to say that I could afford an employee, but at this moment, no. I can't survive off what I make at Spellbound, but it's keeping the doors open, and it's year one. Year one was great, and if I can do it during COVID, I can do it beyond.
Awesome.
So I already have that mindset of it's a destination legacy of Sioux Falls. So
great.
I'm not thinking like, oh, I hope I can make it next year. I hope I can open another year. It's already like 10 years down the road. It's going to be a destination place.
Excellent.
But yeah, so different from the shop, from the shows. It's more of like a behind the scenes. I'm willing to expose a little bit more there, some of the basics and the foundations. Even though I might sell you something in the show or in the shop, I might even perform that very same trick in the show, but I can camouflage it so well in the presentation that you'll never know it's the same trick. And so that's kind of fun because you might take something home and be like, that's so cool, and then come to the shop and be like, how did you do that? I'm like, you have it. You just don't. You got to put the pieces together, and that's the creative part. Because if every magician just bought a trick and performed it, every magic show would be the same. And that's the hardest part, is making it unique and to your own to stand out among everybody else. And a lot of magicians forget that it's not about the tricks; it's about creating that magic.
Right.
And so when you can do that, you're going to do great.
Miss Sadie Swear, do you have a question you want to ask? I see your hand is raised.
Good morning. I just have to say that what a delight this morning has been, because seriously can feel the enthusiasm, the excitement. Like, I am getting hyped, and more about what
doesn't take much for Sadie to get hyped. I'll tell you that.
What, Brian?
I'm just making fun of you. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. But I was just wondering, I know Brian asked about, what the next 5 years looks like, but I'm really curious if you do see trends in the magic industry or performance industry, either that in Sioux Falls or nationally. I mean, I'm sure COVID has affected that, but do you see it rising or anything?
Yeah, so if you take magic as a whole, it kind of like it has its peaks and then it has its lows. And I know it's one of those things that nobody's ever paid attention to other than the few magicians that are out there. Basically, I mean, if you think about it, sci-fi started out with a TV show that you may or may not be familiar with called Wizard Wars maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And then that converted into Penn and Teller's Fool Us, which is an amazing show, been on forever. And then Netflix picked up Magic for Humans by Justin Willman. And then there's been another Death by Magic by a guy named DMC out of the UK. And all these different magic shows. Disney just released one called Magic Camp. So there's all these different trends. America's Got Talent, the last 4 years, there's been 2 or 3 winners that were magicians. People are hungry for something new. I mean, in my personal opinion, there is not a better experience than music. I hate to say that as a magician, but music can resonate with people almost instantly. Compared to a magician, you have to build that rapport with the audience. But if you can do that and people are patient enough, which is a huge thing to ask for, if they're patient enough, they will fall in love with the show and want to see a magic show over and over and over again. All of my shows that I have people that come to every single show because they're just hungry for something new. And even though they see the same tricks, and I feel bad, I reach out to them like, hey, I see you're coming. It's going to be a lot of the same stuff because I can only change it up so many times. Like you've come to like 15 shows in a row. And they're like, no, absolutely, just do your thing. I just love it so much. Like it's a great experience. And so while magic as learning in a magic shop may not have like a incline in the curve, I guess, an interest. It's definitely an interest in like the TV shows, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. All these things are full of like little 3-minute magic things. And even like prank videos are magic videos. Just people don't see the magic trick because they're so focused on the prank of it. When I watch those videos, I'm like, they're doing this magic trick right now. Like I know what magic trick they're doing, but they just convert it to make it more accessible and interesting for the virtual viewer. Since they can't actually interact, they don't care about the trick, they care about the reactions, and they want to laugh along with the people in the video. That's what it is. So it's there. People just have to learn that it's still available in a live venue and not always on virtual. And that's growing. My shows are growing. Requests for shows are growing. Shop sales are growing. And one thing I didn't expect is actually there's a huge demand for playing cards in Sioux Falls. There's playing card collectors that collect them like art. And that has been the biggest seller in the shop. And so going back to like, what have I done to pivot? Like, I was planning on keeping maybe 10 decks of cards. I keep over 100 decks of cards in my shop at all time. And they're constantly rotating.
Travis, we could talk to you for 3 more hours, but we gotta wrap it up. Absolutely. But the last thing that we always ask is, what can this community of people do to help you in your business moving forward?
It's not even really so much about me. It's, just the entertainment business in general. Like I said, look local first for everything. If you don't know where to look, reach out to me because I have connections for local entertainment all over the place. Whether you're looking for a paid entertainer, which we prefer, or if you have an event where you don't have a budget, still don't hesitate to reach out because we have people that are willing to just get their name out there and do it. And I'm not going to just say like, oh, I got this kid that I taught, I'll send him your way. No, it's trusted people that I know I will send out and put my name behind it. So always just look local first before anything else. Like that's truly it. That should be, that's my mantra. So that is a great message. It was such a pleasure to get to know you better and what you're doing. And when my 3-year-old gets a little bit older, I'll have her into the shop. So. Perfect. Thank you so much, Travis. Thank you.
So lastly, we just want to thank a few sponsors: MarketBeat, First National Bank in Sioux Falls, Pinnacle Productions, and the Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship. We also want to thank the Kauffman Foundation and our organizing committee, which is Sadie Swear, Peter Hauk, Matt Paulson, John Meyer, and Maureen Ohm. What's coming up next? Next week, February 24th, we have Brandon Manning with OG Greens. March 3rd, which is Sioux Falls Entrepreneurship Day, we've got a special presentation from John Meyer and Natalie Eisenberg talking about ClickRain's acquisition of Lemonly. March 10th, we have Brandon Maddox of Silencer Central. And if you are interested in presenting or know someone who is, please visit 1millioncups.com/Sioux Falls and apply to present. Speaking of applications, I'm just going to quick throw this in here. Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship is hiring right now. We are looking for an administrative specialist. It's a full-time position. You can find more details at startupsiouxfalls.com. You can also sign up for our email list. You can follow us on Facebook, and you can also join a Facebook group of nearly 8,000 entrepreneurs at Startup Sioux Falls. Thanks again for joining us this morning. We hope to see you again, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you need any resources. Happy National Entrepreneurship Week, and have a great day, everyone.